We're going to go ahead and get started with Greg Biffle's media availability. We're now joined by Greg, driver of the number 16 Safety Clean Ford. Greg, this is a home territory for Roush Fenway Racing with Boston just down the road. The team has 7 wins here, including one that you captured in 2008. Tell us about being at the track this weekend as you continue to look for a berth in the chase for the Sprint Cup.
Yeah, this is a fun racetrack to race on, and that was still a special win for us here, starting the chase out. And just we're still looking for a little bit of speed. We feel like we had a decent Chicago test. Maybe that'll translate over to this racetrack a little bit. We'll try some of the things that we tried over there in Chicago that gave us a little bit of speed. But we continue to look for that speed, continue to look for a way to get a win, and compete and try and get in the chase.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. We'll start up front with Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I know you pay a lot of attention to all the discussion of the changes to the cars and what's going to happen at Chicago and Indy and coming out of Kentucky. What are your thoughts on all of that right now, where they're at?
I'm game for all the changes that they're doing, and I'll have to say that from the driver's point of view, just from being behind the wheel in Kentucky, was probably one of the best races that I've been in a long time, because we were able to do things that we couldn't do with the car before. You weren't stuck behind that guy. You were stuck behind that guy because you always have been, but not like it was when the downforce was on it. It seemed like it was a step in the right direction, better, because the effect of the car in front of you was less than what it was before. So, and the speed in the corner was down just a little bit, so that you could move around from lane to lane. It wasn't so lane specific because the speed was a little bit down. So when the speed comes down a little bit, you can use more lanes and not be at a disadvantage. And we all know that we have to have a lane that there's not a car in order to get beside them or pass them. So I thought it was much better. Indy, I'm going to reserve my opinion until afterwards, because I don't really know I don't think any of us know how it's going to act. It's going to be exciting. We know that we saw a little bit of the high downforce. A couple guys did it at Chicago, and it seems like the guy behind obviously suffers more with the high downforce with the bigger spoiler. So we still got to go around the corner, but it's got big long straightaways. So is that going to balance out? We'll just have to wait and see.
If I could just follow up on that real quick before I get to my question. In theory, the way they want it to work at Indy, where you would see the pass at the end of the straightaways, as we've seen in the Indy 500.
Right.
In theory, is that possible?
In theory, it is. In theory, it is. So what's going to be the determining factor is can you get enough of a run? A single. Let's take 4 cars and put them single file. Can you get enough of a run or be close enough to that leader in the dirty air, right, with the big spoiler? Can you be close enough and get enough of a run at him around the corner for it to pay off, by the end of the straightaway? And we all know that's been a drafting racetrack. So under any rules package, clear back when I first started going there, if you didn't feel like you could get by him, you're going to get passed by the guy behind you, because the minute you came, pulled out and got beside him on the straightaway, it punched a huge hole in the air, and so the guy behind you passed both of you. And we saw that, we've seen that happen all along. So now with this being more like that, certainly we see guys get side by side. It's going to be huge draft. So we'll have to wait and see on the single car how that transpires.
All right. Mark Garrow, PRN. Your team, when I look at your stats, I just don't get it. I mean, I just don't get it. How do you feel about the struggles and just the lack of numbers, lack of stats for this team?
Yeah, it's probably one of the toughest things for us to look at. We look at the same stats you're looking at, and we look around us and look at the cars we're racing with, and it's definitely frustrating. But at the same time, we are working as hard as we can to try and figure out what we need for speed, what we have to do to these cars. And to be quite honest with you, we don't know what to do to them, and we don't know where the speed's at, and so it makes it really difficult to fix it.
How hard is it for you to stay enthusiastic?
It's very hard to stay enthusiastic. It is. It's, I wouldn't say it's like one arm tied behind your back, but it is difficult to, get, dressed, buckled in there and get out on the racetrack. But every time we do, we're searching for that speed. So we're back at the shop working on stuff, we're testing, and then we're bringing it to see what it does competing to that next guy. So it's not like we're doing the same thing every week. So every time you climb in that car, you're going to have the same, or at least you don't expect the same result. Now, if you get the same result, well, then you go back to the drawing board. But every time we climb in that thing, we've got something different. And when that something different puts us in the top 10, then we're going to be excited.
All right, we're going to go to Bob and then Kenny Bruce.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. How did you approach the Chicago test when they say, well, kind of expect the kind of current rules package, but could be the Kentucky package if everything, they kind of left the door open for other packages. Did you just do the traditional kind of aero package that you've had all year, or did you try in case they change it?
Yeah, so we can start by backing up about 2 months, and we went and tested at Darlington we went and tested at Kentucky for 3 days. I went straight from Texas, and we raced there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, or wherever we went. We went to Kentucky and tested for 3 days, and went back with a different rules package. Then we went and tested Darlington for 2 days, and now it's a different rules package. And then we went to Chicago and tested, and we don't know what we're going to race there. So it is hard for us, considering the position we're in as a team, to manage that moving target. But at the same time, we understand that this is changing around. And actually, I really like the package that we ran at Kentucky and what we're going to run at Darlington. And maybe if we tweak on that and that kind of continues to put on good racing, maybe that's what the package will be going on. So we stayed on 2015 stuff, just worked on our cars, and hopefully it wasn't the 6th day we've been on the racetrack that we're going to race something different, but we don't know.
Hey, Greg, Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Couple of things. We hear you guys say higher downforce. NASCAR says it's a higher drag package. Is there a difference there that we're missing, or what's the difference?
Yeah, so it is, I guess I'm phrasing it wrong. It really is just higher drag, I think, because it does take away a little bit of downforce. I guess I thought about the 9-inch spoiler being a lot of downforce, but it has that lip on it, and it has the piece on the bumper. So it is actually a little bit less downforce, but high drag. And what that does is it just blocks the air from the car behind you, is all it does. So essentially the car behind you doesn't, have the downforce or the air on it that it does when it has a smaller spoiler and doesn't have all that drag effect.
Okay. And speaking of the 9-inch spoiler, what's the tallest spoiler you've ever competed with in your career coming up, and what was that like from a driver's standpoint?
Probably getting close to it. I think probably the biggest spoiler is when we had the 8-inch spoiler on these cars. It's probably the biggest spoiler we've had. And, I'm the fan of the low downforce, right? Every time we've had, shorter spoiler or less spoiler and, less side force and whatever else, and the cars get sliding around a little bit and they're not as fast in the corner, it's just better racing and better passing. And it allows you to pass.
Any additional questions for Greg? All right, we'll go to Bob.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. With all the changes in the aero package and potential numerous different types of aero packages for different tracks, Could it be like back in the day of restrictor plate racing, where it seemed like after every practice everybody was running to the hauler to lobby for a little bit of this or a little bit of that?
You know, I don't know if it'll get there because we're too sophisticated now, and I can see, you know, different packages for different racetracks possibly. But I think it's going to be pretty fair across the board, or pretty straight across the board, and you know, you just wish that you could try, you know, both packages at the racetrack in the same weekend to see what works the best and what drives the best. But you know, we're faced with you know, we got to commit and go. But I applaud NASCAR for what they're doing to you know, change it up a little bit and give us an opportunity to see what it does.
That'd be an awesome doubleheader, like 2 100-mile.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but I said, you know what would be perfect in Michigan would be we just run the first half of the race with the high downforce. We'll run the second half of the race with the low downforce and see which half was better. But
All right, we'll go to Mark.
Just to follow up on that, Greg, do you like the idea that NASCAR is moving towards where you could literally have 4 or 5 different setups trying to match the cars and what you have with that type of racing, whether it's road course, short track, intermediate, Indy, plate racing, you know, that kind of thing?
yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a bold idea, and the way these cars are, it gives us that opportunity for having the splitter and the spoiler and be able to adjust those fairly easily to change the package around. You know, before that was, you know, difficult to do. We had a front valance on it, so you could never change the front downforce enough, you know, by changing that pan and the splitter. So with them being able to change that around from track to track, it makes it fairly easy for the teams to switch out as well. So that's a positive, and yeah, I like the idea of you know, changing it around.
Final questions for Greg, right?
Greg Bill Thomas, WPKZ Radio. To follow up on the testing with all the changes NASCAR is making, how much is Goodyear involved? And I know your drivers are lobbying for a tire that gives up and puts more in the driver's hand. Is Goodyear involved in this, or are you still stuck in the box with what Goodyear wants to like err on the side of safety as far as the durability?
You know, I think Goodyear's coming around quite a bit on that. You know, they tested tires at Chicago that you know, they came apart about 24, 25 laps. You know, the tires blistered and split and cords came out, and I mean, you know, they are trying, you know, tire packages, so they're definitely involved in you know, in this, because taking the downforce off it, you got to add a little bit of a tire to it to kind of compensate that grip level, and then the grip level will deteriorate because of the tire. When you have aero grip, it never changes. The aero grip stays for the whole run. The tire will give up from the start of the run to the end of the run. And so I do like the opportunity that Goodyear's come back and working on that a little bit. And, you know, it makes, back in the old days, so to speak, I'm not dating myself, but, you know, you had to take care of the tire a little bit on the first 5 laps of that run or 4 laps of that run. This, you know, tire we're on now, because of the downforce package, you can drive it however you want. You know, it doesn't matter. So I like the idea of getting back a little bit and that's what creates passing too. Guy that ran harder in the first 10 laps is going to be going backwards in the next 10, and this guy's going to be going forward. So it gives that opportunity.
All right, we'll go to Kenny and then finish up with Terrell.
How do you, I understand the not charging hard early to take care of the tires, but how do you know when you're pushing the tire too hard and how you're laying back too much? I mean, where's that line at?
Yeah, that's the fun part about racing is it's hard to explain because it's never like you're on a Sunday drive. It's never like, well, I'm just going to take it easy, you know, because you got cars inside of you, outside of you, behind you. It may be just letting off a tiny bit, getting in the corner, maybe a little bit less brake, not putting as much wheel in it, not going to the gas and driving it a little bit sideways off the corner. You know, maybe just calming down just a tiny bit to try and take care of that tire, you know, just a small amount. in the beginning of a run, and that'll like at Darlington, it was crazy, the old Darlington, how, I mean, they could tell me my lap times and I'll know exactly how much tire I've used. I mean, it was that Darlington was way different because you'd go down the corner and just mash the throttle. It had enough grip where you could just run it flat almost. But you did that for 1 lap or 2 laps, it was a half a second slower at lap 10. I mean, a half a second if you would run that fast on the first lap. It was amazing. So, I don't think we'll ever get back to that, but that goes to show you how big of a difference using up some of that tire on the first couple laps would hurt you on lap 10.
Okay. Earlier this year, I think it maybe at Texas, you guys came out with a new build for your cars.
Yep.
How has that progressed? I mean, are you guys still trying to tweak on it and figure out some things about it, or?
Yeah, so, we were all jumping up and down excited about Texas, and we brought it out, and we really didn't, we saw a more consistent drive in it. It wasn't like it was doing 4 different things trying to drive it, so it calmed that down, but it didn't have any more speed. So then we took another version of it, updated version of it to, I don't remember where, and it showed a little bit of promise. And then Charlotte, it showed a lot of promise. We qualified, up front and ran up front a lot of the race. And I ended up finishing second on fuel mileage, but we were about a 10th place car. So we were like, okay, we got this thing figured out now. And so now we moved into the top 10 or close to it. Now we can start scratching at the rest of it. And then Pocono, we were fair. And then we went to Michigan, and we're all foaming at the mouth, and we were 36, 2 laps down. So we were like, we had no idea what happened. So back to the drawing board for us, I mean, we're just, we're kind of pinging around it and trying to find that, moving target. And every time we feel like we're getting closer, then we get knocked back down to the bottom rung again and kind of start back up. So the chassis made a difference. We found some aero stuff, and, we're just continuing to, we think we found a little bit more speed at Chicago. Anytime we find a little bit of speed, we don't want to celebrate yet till we get a result from it on the racetrack.
All right, our final question. Go ahead.
Terrell Covey, I'm with the Portsmouth Herald. I just want, while you guys are at sort of the Roush Fenway home track, track you've had some success at, do you feel like this is an opportunity for you to sort of maybe get a chance to steal one here and get yourselves into the chase and then continue to build as you approach that?
Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, I'm going to go with that plan right now. But, you really don't know until about an hour from now how we're going to stack up this weekend. So, like I said, if that Chicago, what we found there brings a little bit of speed over here with suspension or chassis adjustment we saw, we'll see. But certainly this is a racetrack that, get up front, right pit strategy, and you got to have a fast car. You could take our car and put it up front, and if it's not fast enough, it's not going to stay there. So if we have a car that's competitive and we get some track position, we can win.
Are you trying to say this is a track that whatever you roll off the impact is kind of what you get stuck with?
I've seen that a lot here. Kind of where you're sort of at. If you come off the truck and you're in the top 15 or somewhere in there, you got a decent car. But if you come off the truck and you're 32nd and you're trying to get it to do this or do that, it seems like it's less of an opportunity to jump it to the top 15.
All right,
It's one of those tracks.
Thanks for joining us, Greg, and good luck this weekend.